Hello, my name is Jan Mattes. I'm Chief Product Manager for SAP Business ByDesign Lifecycle Management, and I'm now going to explain you how you can leverage the lifecycle management of ByDesign for your machine learning scenarios. So you probably know that we have been investing significantly in enabling you to build your machine learning scenarios on top of Business ByDesign. And now we bring this to the next level by introducing a lifecycle management which can fuel your machine learning applications to the next level. So first of all, why do we need that? Machine learning is, of course, very intelligent, and it's getting more intelligent day by day. Pattern recognition is there since the early ages. Even in the 19th, we had OCR, pattern recognition. And those applications definitely deliver a high accuracy and confidence level, but sometimes those applications need a bit of context to make the difference. So you see from that example here that you see on the screen that sometimes the right information without having context leads to the wrong results, and you should definitely have the right information with the context coming out of the ByDesign system. Secondly, relationship makes the difference. An order is an order, you can say, but an order is really something especially different if it comes, let's say, for a logistics execution, or it comes with a customer project. So the context and the relationships of the sales order with, let's say, outbound deliveries, warehouse process, customer demand, and so on, might be giving it completely different picture for your machine learning decisions than for a sales order which is running for a customer project, or a very young sales order which is related to a customer project. That kind of relationship to really makes the difference for your decision making and automation of decision making. And finally, information lifecycle is really the differentiator. Recent data is good data. You can, of course, train your machine learning capabilities by just using the most recent data. But can you ensure that most recent data is really the right data? Very often you have to distinguish between what is the status of documents, what is the relation of documents to each other, and are you still allowed to use them? And you need to sort out data after a certain time because data ages. So with Business ByDesign and the information lifecycle management, we provide a big data lifecycle analysis which can fuel your machine learning and gives you only the valid data, and it keeps the validity of the data. So you also have the insights by when data is aging and shall be taken out of your machine learning scenarios. Let me show this to you in a system. So this is basically a dashboard I've been setting up with our data lifecycle management. What you see here is, first of all, an analysis of all the data we have in the system. And at a glance, you recognize, oh, majority of data is end of residence. So that basically means it is still available. You can still use it, but you cannot treat it as hot data. You should think about sorting it out and phasing it out. There is a huge chunk of data where you don't have any information, and there's also a big chunk of data where you clearly can state this data should not be used anymore because it's end of retention. That basically means it has reaches the end of the life cycle and can also be deleted. And in some legal cases, you might even be forced to delete the data. And here's basically the good data you can use. So let's say in this system, it's 41% of the data. The rest needs to be sorted out. And every day, that picture will be looking different because data ages. Here under the processes, you basically see how old your data is and from what area the data is coming from. So let's say here is the customer invoice data we have from 2018, and it's basically giving you a good insight that data is coming from various angles. It's related to each other, and you always need to differentiate what data you should be taking into account and how do you relate that data. That can be really be complicated. So if you see how much data we have here in the system in the various areas, it's really huge. And it needs to be automated, and you need to have a control by when the retention and the residence of the data ends. Let me shed a bit of more light by drilling into the KPI. So what you see here is now the details of our data lifecycle. And if I expand here all the open documents, then you can see, let's say here, the sales documents, which I have here in my system, and here especially the sales orders. And if I then expand that here as well, I can also navigate into such a sales order and the lifecycle status of a certain sales order item. So let me open that here. And with that, I get a picture, and that's basically the digital twin of that sales order representing the life cycle of the sales order. You see the information is depicted, what company has been creating that information, for what reason it is still needed. You can see in what status that sales order is, and you can see the status is open, the retention status is open, it's not deletable, it has been created in 2016. The residence end date, that basically the change should be end of December 2019, and you have to keep it in the system as per configuration for an unlimited time. This kind of information is available for all your business documents you have in the system, and imagine we have customers with more than 100 million documents in the system. And now coming to the relation of those documents to each other, that is of course decisive, especially in your machine learning scenario. An order is not an order. So this is basically an example where you see how an order in a logistics process interrelates to various, let's say, outbound deliveries, warehouse orders, warehouse confirmations, warehouse requests, and how it relates also to the sales ledger and what happens in terms of clearing. So that kind of map depicts very well the relationship, and you can use that relationship by accessing all the lifecycle data. You always have the process ID, the process reference for all of your business documents, which keep all your documents together and into a relation, and that is basically the core information you can leverage in your machine learning scenarios. And it's basically a competitive advantage because you can really leverage all the valuable data you have in your cloud ERP system. So what we basically introduced is an expiry date for all data, and it's being calculated every day and basically gives you the information and the security that you only use the right data to automate processes and to train your machine learning scenarios. And again, you have a high volume of data in your ERP. Small customers have already something like 500,000 documents in their system. Very high customer volumes are beyond 100 million. And if you just look here on the right-hand side on the price of information, how valuable that information is, you can easily make your own calculation why SAP Business ByDesign is bearing well, the most valuable information you might be having in your company, and you have it at your fingertips for using it in machine learning and for automation. I hope you like what you've seen, and stay tuned for more.